Every student in Gen V explained. We're going to begin with our first E-tier member, Harper. Harper is a minor character within the show, only appearing a handful of times. Her ability grants her a tail that she can control, allowing her to hit people with it or pick up objects. Harper is motivated by views, often faking a personality online so she is seen and showered with likes. She really doesn't do much else, just her and her tail, which I think is a pretty lame ability to have. Let's move on quickly to our next E-tier member, who we'll call Liberal Soup. This student was seen at a protest between Cameron Coleman and Victoria Newman. She questions Homelander's trial for murdering an innocent person. At first, she is pleased with Newman's answer, but later on in the protest, she is attacked by another Soup, where we see her use her ability as she defends herself against the man with her sonic scream, sending him flying. Her powerful scream ability can cause humans and Soups to be stunned or completely deafened. It's an okay ability, but comparing her to what other abilities are granted to other students, she kinda sucks. You're telling me her biggest weakness is something like tonsillitis? Let's move on over to our last E-tier student, Dusty. Unlike all the other students on this list being born in the early 2000s, Dusty was born in the 1990s. His ability of decelerated aging allows him to age slower and also extends his lifespan. At first glance, Dusty has the appearance of a teenager, but Andre reveals that he's actually 28 years old. He actually doesn't attend the university. He was once a student, but due to his appearance, he still hangs around the college campus and is well known for throwing parties, which is kind of weird when you remember he is almost 30 years old. Let's move on to our first D-tier member, Benny. Benny is another minor character within the show, showcasing a shape-shifting ability. It is unclear if he has free will over his power, or if he needs to have permission to shape-shift into the person before he does it. The reason for this is when he is found shape-shifting into a fellow student called Rufus, Benny makes the argument that he's allowed to do it if he has permission. Now for our second D-tier student, Cute Soup. Cute Soup was also seen at the Victoria Newman and Cameron Coleman rally. After taking a dislike to one of Victoria Newman's responses, she activates her powers, causing her eyes to glow pink as she angrily calls Victoria a narc. The crowd of Soups agree, prompting Rufus to initiate a chant, which forces Victoria Newman to leave. Cute Soup was granted the ability of heat vision. She is able to generate a pink concentrated beam from her eyes. Although the extent of her powers is unknown, much like Homelander, she uses her powers to intimidate others by making her eyes glow. And I don't think anything screams intimidation more than a pair of pink glowing eyes. Now, to conclude our D-tier students, we have Steve. Steve was the character seen blowing ice all down a hallway for the other students to slide on. He has the ability of cryokinetic breath, which allows him to generate and manipulate ice from his body by exhaling through his mouth. He also possesses an immunity to cold temperatures, which I guess is cool, but just wear a hoodie. Let's move on and start with our first C-tier member, Kate Dunlap. When Kate was 9 years old, she went on a camping trip along with her parents and little brother Caleb. He would irritate Kate, like any younger brother would. So one day, Kate grabbed his arm and told him to leave and never come back. She accidentally used her powers for the first time, causing Caleb to actually walk into the woods and never return. She felt immense guilt over her little brother's presumed death. The incident made her parents lock her in her room for 9 years and force her to wear gloves. Kate eventually found herself at Godolphin University, thanks to the help from Indira Shetty, where she went on to be quite a popular student. She went on to meet Luke Reardon, also known as Golden Boy, and eventually became his girlfriend, shifting her ambition from a crime fighter to becoming the future manager of Golden Boy. Kate's abilities include the power to persuade anyone to do anything, no matter how specific. Let me give you an example. Press the subscribe button. Kate became a co-conspirator for the Woods, using her powers on her boyfriend and his brother Sam, who were being experimented on. Kate assisted in illegal operations, controlling students, and erasing evidence of their crimes. This ultimately backfires on the school, forcing Kate to lash out and order Soups to murder innocent civilians, teaming up with Sam, and later going on to work alongside Homelander. God damn, Kate was brutal. She literally forced a man to eat his own hands. But she earns a C-tier spot because just don't go near her. Let's move on from Kate to our second C-tier member, Justine Garcia. Justine is another minor character within the show. She is an influencer who, alongside Harper, seems to fake a personality online for likes and attention. She also seems to have the ability to overpower Harper into doing weird stuff with her tail for videos in hopes for virality. Her reasoning for being a C-tier student comes from her regenerative healing factor, where she shows she is able to withstand a punch from Jordan Lee, which initially broke her jaw but was quickly put back in place thanks to her ability. Justine's power has the potential to be as strong as Kimiko's, so she could even move up the list. Till then, she can sit comfy with all the other C-tier members. Let's head over to our next C-tier member, Rufus. Rufus was actually named after the drug roofies, and if you know what that is, you understand why. Rufus has the ability of telepathy, which allows him to hear the thoughts of others, see into their minds, search their memories for specific information, and hypnotize people into doing anything he wants, but only when in close proximity. So similar to Kate, just stay away from him? Although his powers ultimately come from his brain, he is still susceptible to other mind control techniques. As we see Kate order him to hit himself in the nuts with a bat whilst yelling Jumanji. Moving to our second last C-tier member, the Incredible Steve. The Incredible Steve, or just Steve, is a student that possesses superhuman strength and durability. On top of that, he has a healing factor that allows him to reattach his limbs, as we see after Golden Boy rips his arms off during a sparring match. His name literally has Incredible in it. How badass is that? But there really isn't anything more to say about him. So let's finally conclude our C-tier members with Tyler Oppenheim, seemingly in a relationship with Jordan Lee, because the act they were taking part in, people only do if they are in love, right? After being rudely disrupted during their act, we are introduced to Tyler's power of intangibility, which means he has the ability to phase through walls, which is pretty cool in my opinion. It reminds me of the scene from that one X-Men movie. Let's get started with our B-tier students. Emma Meyer. Emma Meyer, also known as Little Cricket, from the hit YouTube channel called Fun Sized with Little Cricket. Emma possesses self-size alteration abilities, enabling her to shrink to the size of an ant or grow to the size of a building. In order for Emma to shrink, she must empty the contents of her stomach, which she refers to as purging, leading her to gradually shrink until she is the desired size. To return to her original size, Emma consumes food, and to get bigger, she consumes large amounts of food. Emma is assigned to be roommates with Marie Moreau. The two quickly hit it off and become close friends, leading to the two of them to embark on some Scooby-Doo-like adventures. I actually really liked Emma's character, and I hope we get to see more of her. Now moving toward our second and final B-tier student, the stretchy one. Okay, I know she pretty much is just a background character, and we don't even know her name, but she's like Reed Richards. How awesome is that? She's like a wacky, wavy, inflatable tube man. But there isn't really anything to say about her, unless I'm onto something and she becomes a main character next season, which is unlikely. Now let's move on up to our first A-tier member, Andre Anderson. Andre is the son of popular soup, Polarity, and just like his father, possesses the ability of magnetism manipulation, which enables him to control magnetic fields with his hands. He is also able to fully control metal and completely reshape it, but we see he really hasn't got the hang of it yet. Andre is a complex character. While he yearns to be a hero, he is unsure of succeeding his father and becoming the new Polarity. The main reason being he doesn't want to let his father down. Andre was ranked in the top 3 students at the university, along with his friends Luke and Jordan. Andre's immense power does actually come at a cost. If he uses his powers too much, he runs the risk of developing brain lesions. Andre's father had the same issue and had already developed brain lesions, which resulted in him having a seizure. Moving on over to our second A-tier soup, Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee is one of the more popular students in the show. Jordan has the ability to change gender, meaning he can be both male and female. Whilst Jordan is in his male form, he is indestructible and has access to superhuman strength. Meanwhile, his female form allows him to shoot powerful energy blasts from their palms. Jordan had it rough growing up, as when he first gained access to his powers, his parents would disapprove of his gender swaps, as he was originally born as a male, and that is the gender his parents push on him to represent. Jordan was propelled into the role of TA, which means teacher's assistant to Professor Richard Brinkerhoff, or just Brink, as he is commonly referred to in the show, where he is seen using his abilities to overpower his friend Luke, when he becomes enraged after demanding to know the whereabouts of his brother Sam. Jordan proves to be quite powerful, as he is able to go toe-to-toe with Luke, which, remember, that is Golden Boy if you haven't caught on by now. Jordan uses both his male and female form to maneuver around Luke's abilities, but is ultimately choked unconscious by Golden Boy as he continues his warpath. Fun fact, the character of Jordan Lee was actually supposed to be a pair of twins going by the names Jordan and Mark, but ended up being one person who swaps between both characters. How cool is that? Let's head over to our next A-tier member, Luke Reardon. More commonly known as Golden Boy, Luke was supposed to be set to replace Homelander in the Seven. He had thermonuclear powers, which gave him the ability to blast fire and completely engulf his body in flames. He is fairly similar to Lamplighter, only he is completely fire resistant, whereas Lamplighter is not. Luke is also an extremely charismatic individual, which goes a long way with Vought, giving them the opportunity to exploit this for their personal gain. Luke grew up alongside his younger brother Sam and experienced a positive childhood, although this would change as the two got older and ultimately more powerful. Luke would go on to become a top student and one of the most powerful supes in the world, whereas his brother Sam, we will talk about that in just a moment. Luke finds himself romantically attached to Kate, which at first glance they seemed like a nice couple, until it is later revealed that Kate was actually only with Luke to erase his memory every time he would be experimented on alongside his captive brother. He really could have been an S-tier soup. But due to unfortunate events in the show, we didn't really get to see much of Luke. I feel like everyone had high hopes this would finally be the guy to kick Homelander's ass, but I guess we were wrong. Let's finally conclude our A-tier members with Maverick. Samuel Shecht, also known as Maverick, was the son of the now deceased member of the Seven, Translucent. He shares the same ability as his late father, being the power to reorder his skin into a carbon metamaterial, granting him invisibility and making him practically indestructible. Although Maverick doesn't really do much in the show, I think he still deserves to be among the other A-tier students, as his father, with virtually the exact same abilities, was one of the most fierce members in the Seven. Who's to say Maverick couldn't do the same? Let's move on up to our first S-tier member, Marie Moreau. Marie first became aware of her abilities when she was 10 years old and experienced her first steps into womanhood. She was unable to control her powers and would accidentally kill both of her parents, leaving herself and her sister Annabeth the only survivors of the accident, leading to Marie separated from her sister and relocated to the Red River Institute, which is an orphanage dedicated to housing orphan soups. We actually see Marie in their records during an episode in The Boys as Huey visits the Institute whilst trying to learn more about Victoria Newman. Marie would go on to be accepted to Godolkin University to become a hero, trying to make amends with her tragic past and make her sister change the way she viewed her. Her abilities include blood manipulation. She uses this ability with her own blood by extending it through her palms in the form of tentacles that she uses like whips. Marie has also demonstrated her ability to medically use blood manipulation for non-harmful purposes, which we see as she saves the life of the woman Andre accidentally injures. She's pretty much a bloodbender for all you Avatar fans out there. Due to spending most of her youth isolated, Marie is seen socially inept, and she also never had access to social media, making her unaware of the power a social media presence has on a superhero's career. The extent of Marie's powers is still a mystery. Although she seems to have similar abilities to Victoria Newman, she could easily surpass her, making her one of the strongest supes of all time. And now finally, to conclude this video, Sam Reardon. Sam, like his brother Luke, was experimented on with Compound V at an early age. Unfortunately for Sam, the Compound V did not mix well with his schizophrenia, leading to him transferred to the Sage Grove Center and later moved to the woods. Sam actually manages to escape one night and is seen by Marie, taking out guards and flipping over cars, leading her to intervene, putting a stop to him alongside her newfound friend Andre, and ultimately putting him back in his cell. Sam is stronger than his brother ever was, but unfortunately he is a weapon of mass destruction due to his mental health condition. This condition leads him to seeing his opponents as puppets that he can pull apart with ease. On top of that, he also has superhuman durability, making him completely bulletproof and able to withstand even the strongest of attacks from other supes. He finds himself eventually working alongside the extremely corrupt members of the Seven, joined by fellow student Kate Dunlap. He is coerced into kidnapping members of the boys and is now a self-proclaimed guardian of Godolkin, as him and Kate are set to star in their first movie. I did really like Sam, and the moments he shared with Emma shined some humanity upon his development, but I guess you can't compete with a girl that can literally force anyone to do anything. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you'd like me to explain in the comments below. See you next time.